Tonight on First at 9, this Monday the 12th of August 2024. Long awaited. Plantation wage hike approved by the Wages Board. Election preparations. Election nominations to commence on August 15th. Vicinity of the Election Commission to be designated as a special security zone. Dollar inflows. Over $3 billion earned as worker remittances during the first 7 months of this year.
ඔබේ විශ්වාසය දෙනු සෙන්සුරයින් දැන් ළඟමැති ෆාමසියෙන් ලබාගත හැක.
From Derana, this is Derana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to Sri Lanka's premier primetime English news bulletin, Derana First at 9. I am Tarindu Mahendra, joining you live with the latest in Sri Lanka and from around the world. In your top story this evening, the government's decision to grant a daily wage of 1,700 rupees to estate workers has been passed by a majority vote during the meeting of the Wages Board, which convened in Colombo today. Meanwhile, Minister of Water Supply and State Infrastructure Development, Jeevan Thondaman, revealed that the plantation companies, which previously opposed the wage hike, had agreed to pay the increased daily wage to their workers. On the 30th of April, the Commissioner General of Labour published an extraordinary Gazette notification increasing the daily wages of plantation workers to 1,700 rupees from 1,000 rupees. President Ranil Wickremesinghe also made an announcement in this regard while attending the May Day rally of the Ceylon Workers' Congress held in Kottagala. However, 21 plantation companies filed a writ petition before the Court of Appeal opposing the relevant Gazette notification increasing the daily wages of plantation workers. The petitioners requested the court to issue an order to invalidate the Gazette notification. The Court of Appeal considered the petition and issued an interim order preventing the implementation of the relevant Gazette notification. Against this backdrop, the Ministry of Labour published another Gazette notification cancelling the Gazette notification that was previously issued regarding the increase in the daily wage of plantation workers. Following that development, the plantation companies withdrew their writ petition. However, President Ranil Wickremesinghe recently said that the Wages Board is working towards the implementation of the government's decision to grant a daily wage of 1,700 rupees to the plantation workers. As such, the Wages Board convened today at the Labour Secretariat in Colombo under the patronage of the Commissioner General of Labour. The meeting was attended by the estate's trade unions, Planters Association of Ceylon and representatives of the Ministry of Plantation Industries. During the meeting, the proposal to increase the daily wage of plantation workers was passed by a majority vote.
We
have been requesting a daily wage of 1,700 rupees for the plantation workers. This request was approved by the Wages Board today. Accordingly, the issues of the estate workers concerning their wages, land rights and the rights of the labourers as well as retired workers have already been addressed. Additionally, we have also successfully concluded the teaching appointments of the youth of this country.
Through
11 vote majority, about 14 votes ruled in favour of providing the estate workers with 1,700 rupees and about 3 members had voted against this 1,700 rupees. For those who may say this may be a politically motivated decision, we started this campaign nearly 1 year ago and we did not ask for 1,700 because of any political motives. We asked for 1,700 according to the Fair Trade International Labour Standards and they had recommended this number, and through that particular formula we had asked for 1,700 rupees, out of which 1,350 rupees is basic, 350 I believe is a productivity allowance. And I think it's high time even we put issues with the plantation companies behind us and we'd like to start afresh. We'd like to bring some dignity in labour. Companies who had traditionally opposed a wage hike had this time agreed to provide a fair wage and fair and decent wage to these estate workers. And I believe the political party of Honourable Kumara Disanayake, who claims that they work for the working class, they opposed this 1,700 in the Wages Board vote. So I think people would also be able to see who is acting and who is genuinely there for the people.
Horizon Campus 2024 Intake 2. Register now.
Now, Commissioner General of Elections Saman Sriratnayaka revealed that the election regulatory body has granted approval for election observers from the European Union and the Commonwealth to monitor this year's presidential poll. Meanwhile, the Election Commission announced that the vicinity of the officers of the Election Commission in Rajagiriya will be designated as a special security zone on the 15th of August when the nominations for the presidential election will be accepted. The time period reserved for the presidential candidates to deposit their election bonds for the forthcoming presidential poll is scheduled to conclude at 12 noon on the 14th of this month, following which the acceptance of nominations will be carried out on the 15th of August from 9 am to 11 am. As the 2024 presidential election draws closer with each passing day, the Election Commission announced that so far 32 election deposits have been placed for presidential candidacy.
ජනාධිපතිවරණය සඳහා නාම යෝජනා බාර ගැනීම මේ මාස 15
Nominations for the presidential election this year will take place on the 15th of this month from 9 am to 11 am. Objection against the acceptance of nominations can be filed between 9 am to 11:30 am on the same day. The allocation of election symbols for candidates from other political parties and independent candidates will be scheduled following the objection period. During this period, the vicinity of the officers of the Election Commission in Rajagiriya will be designated as a special security zone. Accordingly, the special security zone will encompass Saranamouth in Rajagiriya with only authorized personnel and vehicles allowed access. The Election Commission together with the Department of Government Printing will commence the printing of ballot papers once the nominations of presidential candidates are accepted.
ඡන්ද පත්‍රිකාව මුද්‍රණය කිරීමේ කටයුතු රාජ්‍ය මුද්‍රණාලය සමග සම්බන්ධ වෙලා කරන්න බලාපොරොත්තු.
In the meantime, Commissioner General of Elections Saman Sriratnayaka revealed that several international election observers have been authorized to monitor this year's presidential poll.
European Union and Commonwealth election observers have requested to monitor the presidential election this year. Additionally, the UNFREL organization and the Forum of the Election Management Bodies of South Asia have so far applied to monitor this year's election. Discussions are currently underway to organize the preliminary election monitoring processes. The Election Commission has authorized the international election observers to observe the presidential election this year. Apart from that, local authorities as well as local election observers are already in place to monitor the elections.
Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa says he will initiate an era where houses will be constructed for the general public following his election to office on the 21st of September. Addressing a rally in Mahiyangane today, the opposition leader said he aims to be a leader who serves the general public without obtaining any privileges.
A rally organised by the Samagijana Balawegaya-led Samagijana Sandhanaya was held at the Mahiyangane public ground today under the patronage of opposition leader Sajith Premadasa.
මේ වගේ විපක්ෂයේ ඉඳගෙන රෑ දවල් නිදි මරාගෙන
In our history of politics, we have not seen an opposition leader like Sajith Premadasa who works tirelessly. We need an honest leader. I am proud that we were able to select such a leader. We will not turn back without making him victorious.
එතුමා දිනවල තමයි මම ආපදු පස්සේ බලන්නේ. ප්‍රථම වතාවට විපක්ෂයක් රට පුරාවටම සංවර්ධන වැඩ කටයුතු කරගෙන සක්වල හුස්ම වැඩසටහන් වලින්
For the first time, the opposition in this country is engaging in development activities through Sakwal and Husma initiatives. When we were planning to initiate some of the programs in Badul and Mahiyangane, we were told not to implement them, citing that a presidential election had been announced. However, the development projects that are funded by taxpayers are continuing. Further, there are no hindrances to the projects that are inaugurated by the president. My aim is to be the leader of the people who provide the maximum service to the public without obtaining privileges. Please give me your strength. Other parties hold surveys with regard to the election. With your blessings and strength, we will claim victory on the 21st of September. The country's development program will kick off the following day. We will initiate the Sakwal and Husma programs within Mahiyangane and Badulla within a week of being elected. Those who are jealous will say it is impossible to do these things. However, with our victory, we will commence an era of constructing houses. With your mandate, I will be at your service. I will be your custodian and guardian. I'm ready to take on the responsibility for a generation and the next.
ගමන් කරන හැම ලේ බින්දුවක් පාසා ඔබගේ දරු පරපුරෙත් බිහි වෙන්න ඉන්න මතු පරපුරෙත් වගකීම මම බාර ගන්නවා.
National People's Power leader Anura Kumara Dissanayaka says that the country cannot be developed while politicians are engaged in corruption and misappropriate state assets. Addressing a business summit in Maharagama yesterday, the NPP leader promised that the cabinet of an NPP-led government will only consist of 25 ministers. Meanwhile, today, Dissanayaka signed the nomination papers for his candidacy in the upcoming presidential election.
A business summit of the National People's Power was held in Maharagama yesterday under the patronage of party leader Anura Kumara Dissanayaka.
The country cannot be developed while engaging in party politics. There are talented individuals everywhere. All of them must be given an opportunity to contribute to the country's development. The country and its government are not my private property. They belong to all of us. Therefore, all of us must contribute towards their development. That is why we intend to hand over the leadership of government bodies to the people who are most qualified for these positions. In our government, there will only be 25 ministries. There will be no state ministers, only deputy ministers. There will be 25 ministers and 25 deputy ministers, no more. Further, their residences will not be maintained with government funds. Their electricity and water bills will not be paid by the government. They will not be provided with multiple vehicles, but rather a single ordinary vehicle. How can the country be developed while politicians are engaged in corruption on a massive scale? When fuel prices increased, the fuel allowance provided to members of parliament was also increased by 100,000 rupees. The only parliamentarians who refused that increased allowance were the members of the National People's Power. Politicians must be removed from their lofty positions. I will not say that all of these issues will be resolved on the 21st of September. However, after the 21st of September, we will begin the process of resolving them.
Meanwhile, at the JVP headquarters today, Dissanayaka signed his nomination papers to contest the upcoming presidential election.
The upcoming presidential election is a decisive one. Previous leaders have dragged the country into several crises. However, the National People's Power is ready to accept the challenge of rescuing the country and its people from these crises. We are certain that we will emerge victorious at this year's poll because rival political groups have fractured into different camps. After the election, the National People's Power is also ready to accept the challenges of developing the country, making it a wealthy nation and uplifting the people's livelihoods. Therefore, we are certain that this endeavour will end with us clinching victory at the election. And with that, let's see what politicians across the political spectrum have to say about the latest developments ahead of the presidential poll.
රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ නැමැති නායකත්වය සමග සසඳන්න පුළුවන් අපේක්ෂකේ මේ දක්වා මුදල් තැන්පත් කරපු අතර කිසිවෙක් නැහැ. එතුමා එකම සුදුසු හැටියට සමස්ත ශ්‍රී ලාංකේය මහ ජනතාව තෝරාගත යුතු තිබෙනවා.
මේ රට ගොඩ ගන්න ඉන්න අවංක නායකයා කවුද? සජිත් ප්‍රේමදාස. අද එතුමත් එක්ක හොඳ ටීම් එකක් ඉන්නවා. ධනස්ලා, දයාසිරිලා, විසිගානක් අපිට එක්ක වුණා.
පාර්ලිමේන්තු මන්ත්‍රීවරුන් පණින පැනිල්ලේ හැටියටම ජනතාව පණින්න සූදානම් නැහැ. මොකද එදා වගේ නායකයාගේ පසුපස ඔහේ ගවරැලක්සේ යන ජනතාව අතීතයේ හිටියා. අපේ රටේ අද දේශපාලන සාක්ෂරතාවය බොහොම ඉහළ මට්ටමක තියෙන්නේ. ඒක ඉදිරි මැතිවරණයේදී තවත් පෙනී.
කාගෙත් ඉස්සා දිනාගත්තු නියත වශයෙන්ම 21 වෙනිදා ඡන්දයෙන් පස්සේ 22 වෙනිදාට ජයග්‍රහණ කරන අපේක්ෂකයා තමයි මාලිමාවේ අපේක්ෂකයා අනුර දිසානායක සහෝදරයා.
මේ මැතිවරණයේදී අපි සියලුම දෙනා එකතු වෙලා වැඩ කරුවොත් මහින්ද මහත්තයා දිනුවා වගේ නාම රාජපක්ෂ මැතිතුමා අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම මේ මැතිවරණය ජයග්‍රහණය කරනවා. දැන් අපේ අයම සමහර අය ගිහිලා කියනවා රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මහත්තයා ආපහු බලයෙන් ගෙන්න ඕනේ. එදිම පෝලිං යුගේ නැත කියලා කියනවා. මේ කුමන්ත්‍රණ ඔක්කොම අපි දන්නවා.
මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂ මහත්තයා හැමදාම කිව්වේ පළමුවත් මව්බිම, දෙවනුවත් මව්බිම, තුන්වෙනිවත් මව්බිම කියලා. එහෙමනම් මව්බිම වෙනුවෙන් කටයුතු කරන්න අපේ වගකීමක් තියෙනවා. ඒ නිසා තමයි පොහොට්ටුවේ බහුතරයක් රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මහත්තයාට උදව් කරන්නේ මේ රට මේ ආර්ථික අර්බුදයෙන් මිනිස්සු පීඩාවටපත් වෙච්ච එකෙන් ගොඩ දාපු නිසා. මම විශ්වාස කරනවා පොහොට්ටුව කියන පක්ෂය මහින්ද මහත්තයා රට දින්නේ එතුමාට ආදරය කරාට එහෙමයි කියලා ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ පවුලේ හැමෝටම මිනිස්සු විශ්වාසය කරන්නේ
රටම ඉල්ලපු අරගලයෙන් පවා නිර්මාණයේ ඉල්ලපු තරුණ අපේක්ෂකයා නාමල් රාජපක්ෂ මැතිතුමාව මේ වන විට තා පැහැදිලිව ජයග්‍රාහී අපේක්ෂකයා විදියට ශ්‍රී ලංකා පොදුජන පෙරමුණේ පොහොට්ටුවේ අපේක්ෂකයා විදියට නියත වශයෙන්ම ලබන මාස 21 වෙනිදා මේ රටේ 9 වෙනි විධායක ජනාධිපතිවරයා නාමල් රාජපක්ෂ
පොහොට්ටුවෙන් කවුරු ඉදිරිපත් කරුවත් අපි සහාය දෙන්න සූදානම් සිටියේ නැහැ. මොකද පොහොට්ටුවෙන් ඉදිරිපත් කරන අපේක්ෂකයා නියත වශයෙන් පරාජය වෙනවා. පරාජය වෙන එක නෙමෙයි ප්‍රශ්නේ තියෙන්නේ. රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මැතිතුමා පරාජය වුණොත් මේ දක්වා ගොඩනගපු සහ මීට වැඩිය ඉදිරියට යෑමට තියෙන ඒ යොදපු අඩිතාල ප්‍රතිඵලයක් නැති වෙනවා. රට ආපහු ආපස්සට යනවා. රට ආපස්සට යෑම වැළැක්වීම වෙනුවෙන් මේ වතාවට අපි රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මැතිතුමාට සහාය දෙනවා.
මේ වෙනකොට මේ රටේ ජනතාව සජිත් ප්‍රේමදාස මැතිතුමා ඊළඟ ජනාධිපති කෙනෙක් තෝරගෙන ඉවරයි. අපි පැහැදිලි ලෙසම 150ට වඩා ප්‍රතිශතයක් ලබා ගැනීම දැන් ලැබිලා තිබෙනවා. අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම ඒ ජනාධිපතිවරණේ පළවෙනි වටේම අපි ජයග්‍රහණය කරනවා.
President's Counsel Ali Sabri was sworn in as the new Minister of Justice, Prison Affairs and Constitutional Reforms before President Ranil Wickremesinghe this afternoon. The appointment of Sabri as the Minister of Justice comes following the resignation of Dr. Vijayadasa Rajapaksa, who previously held the portfolio, as he announced his candidacy for the upcoming presidential election. Sabri will hold the portfolio of Justice in addition to his cabinet portfolio of Foreign Affairs. Ali Sabri, a parliamentarian of the ruling Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, previously served as the Minister of Justice upon his entrance to Parliament as a Nationalist MP following his party's victory in the parliamentary election in August 2020. However, with the eruption of violence on the 9th of May 2022, following the attacks on the anti-government protesters who urged then President Gotabaya Rajapaksa to resign from his position, the then cabinet, of which Sabri was also a member, resigned from their portfolios. For the latest in the world of business, join us on the other side of this short commercial break.
Star Dishwasher Dali Tel Indul Pahasuwen Sede. Star Dishwasher Magic Tub එක.
Welcome back. Now in your business news, remittances from Sri Lanka's overseas workers has reached $566.8 million in July 2024. Posting on X, State Minister of Finance Shehan Semasinghe stated that the increment has brought the total for the first 7 months of the year to $3.71 billion. He further stated that the surge in remittances in July this year represents a 10.03% increase compared to the same month last year. The Colombo Bourse commenced the week in green today as a result of price gains in counters such as Commercial Bank, Melster Corp and LOLC Holdings, with turnover crossing 337 million rupees. The benchmark all-share index closed 0.08% higher at 11,312.48 points, while the S&P Sri Lanka 20 gained 0.28% to close at 3,233.87 points. Meanwhile, trading volume on the SPI fell to 14.9 million shares from 17.1 in the previous session. The banking sector was the top contributor to the turnover, while the capital goods sector came in second. Mixed interest was observed in Axis Engineering, Commercial Bank and John Keel's Holdings, with retail interest observed in Berwala Resorts, Maravilla Resorts and Brown's Investments. Foreign investors closed as net sellers, offloading stocks worth 18.8 million rupees, while domestic investors were net buyers, purchasing shares worth 324.4 million rupees. Up next is Kavya Senadira from Capital Alliance with a few thoughts to round off our Markets in View segment for the week.
During the trading week ending 9th August 2024, the benchmark SPI saw a further decline, ending the week at 11,303, a 1.2% decline from the previous week. The S&P 20 also followed this trend, declining by 2.0% to settle at 3,225. The subdued sentiment in the market is expected to remain through this week. The total market turnover for the week declined by 57% to 2.8 billion, with both domestic and foreign participation seen a decline. Moving on to last week's treasury bill auction, rupees 155 billion worth treasury bills were offered, while only rupees 146.2 billion bills were accepted at the auction. Yields rose across all three maturities, with 3, 6 and 12 months yields increasing by 8, 22 and 11 basis points respectively. And on the international front, a week of wild market swings in the US leaves investors looking ahead to inflation data, corporate earnings and presidential polls for signals that could smooth the recent outbreak of turbulence in the US stocks. In commodities, oil prices decreased by 2.4% to close at USD 79.
Now let's take a look at the rupee exchange rate for the day. And with that, we wrap up tonight's edition of First at 9. Thank you for joining us and have a good night.